We begin the news in Nigeria, where more than 300 students abducted from a school in Kankara local government area of Katsina State have been released, authorities in the state have said. The Katsina State Governor Aminu Masari confirmed the release of the students on Thursday, a week after they were kidnapped by the gunmen. According to him, the boys are presently kept safe in Safe, a local government area in Zamfara State. Governor Masari noted that the boys would be brought back to Kankara in Katsina State on Friday. Suleiman Siga, who is the information officer of Kankara local government area, also confirmed the release of the students. The attack was claimed by the Islamist group Boko Haram, which hours earlier released a video apparently showing some of the boys. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has welcomed the release of the kidnapped students of the Government Science Secondary School in Kankara, Katsina State, describing their safe return as a big relief to their families, the entire country, and international community. In a short remark shortly after their release was announced, President Buhari expressed the nation's appreciation for the steps taken by all involved to make their release possible. President Buhari specifically cited what he called the spirit of partnership and the collaborative efforts by the government of Katsina, Zamfara, and military leading to the release. He commended the nation's intelligence agencies, the military and police force for providing the environment for safe release of the hostages. On the issue of detainees held elsewhere in the country by either terrorists or bandits, the president gave assurances that his administration is aware of its responsibility to protect the life and property of the Nigerians. President Buhari urged the citizens to be patient and fair to the administration as it deals with the problems of security, economy, and corruption. Now, joining me on the news to discuss this, chairing news, is a lawyer and a public affairs analyst, Liborious Oshoma. Good morning, Mr. Liborious.
Yeah, good morning.
Yes, now, what do you make of this release of the boys?
Yeah, you see, I heard you say cherry news. For me, there's nothing cherry about this news because, in the first place, these kids ought not to have been kidnapped. If we live in a place where government is responsive to the yearnings and aspirations of the people, these children ought not to be kidnapped. And I wonder the psychological trauma they would have gone through in the hands of their abductors. Because I also have kids and I know what they go through even when I'm not at home. Not to talk of, a total stranger abducting your children at gunpoint, taking them hostage, and then eventually government wants us to celebrate that these children were released, children who were kidnapped in Katsina and released in Zamfara. And then so government wants us to celebrate, or that we should, yes, the fact that these children have been released. But apart from that, we should also find out what went on there. If you remember, before now, even when some of these girls from Dapchi were kidnapped and released, government said that negotiations didn't take place and those girls were just released. But we later found out that, ransom was paid, money exchanged hands. So in this same case, we also need to find out and ask ourselves what actually happened, what went on there. Was ransom paid? Was money given? Who was it given to? And in the first place, why was there so much security lapse that people came with motorbike and were able to take such number of kids in the states where the president, was either on a walking visit or, just so close to his village. So these are the questions we should be asking and ourselves. What led to the kidnap happening, and then how do we forestall, a reoccurrence? And then nobody would want to take, children through such harrowing experience. And we still have a lot in captivity. Some of the Chibok girls are still not found. Some of the Dapchi girls, the same thing. Nobody's talking about them again. And then there are so many villages that have been ransacked, people taking hostage to date. Nobody, talks about them. So of all of these are the concerns for me, and not when things like this happen. Because before conspirators will throw in spanners in the works that, government just needed to launder its image, and so they allowed this to happen, and then, boom, rescue them. And, so government shouldn't even allow it so that, you come clean, seriously.
Yes, now what do you think the security operatives could have done differently to prevent this abduction from happening in the first place?
You see, the government, the security operatives will tell you that they have informants, they have local vigilantes, and, but we end up reacting. We keep reacting rather than being proactive. One would have expected that information would have gotten to them even before this happens, especially given the fact that the president is in the state and not too far from the president's village. So one would have expected that, information would have gotten to them and they would have been able to make this thing in the bud. Or these are areas where the military had consistently said that they are patrolling. Or is it only the southeast that their crocodile is smiling? Can their crocodile smile in Katsina and Zamfara and all of these places? And so how come these people were able to take these children through some of these areas where they are supposed to be military checkpoints? And so if there are no more military checkpoints, why were these checkpoints relaxed? If there are no military checkpoints, what happened to the police checkpoints, that the IG had told us had been restored even after EDSAS? So what they would have done differently, it's what people have been saying that they should do. Information gathering. It's intelligence. We need to enhance more of our intelligence, Also have, infiltrate these same people. Because if the Boko Haram can have informants, infiltrate government, so how come we're not able to infiltrate, these same people? Because they have been able to separate them now, some Boko Haram, some kidnappers. Because from the stories we gleaned from the kidnappers that kidnapped the American citizens, it wasn't even on Boko Haram, it was, armed bandits and kidnappers. So how come, in spite of all of this, very soon now you hear that some people also have repented and that government is finally able to reintegrate them. So we should also rethink and rejig this our repentant and rehabilitation program rather than compensating criminality, because it's really not helping anything. Instead, it has thrown that region in complete chaos and quagmire, to the extent that now, every year you must have one incident of massive kidnap like this, happening in school. We're even lucky that the children were not killed like the children in Buriyadi. It was only kidnapped. So we shouldn't even allow it to happen and then turn around to be celebrating release. It's not. It shouldn't be at all.
Now, what can the government do to prevent future occurrences? To prevent a future, recurrence. That's
what I'm saying. The first thing, what differentiates military from, other arms of security agencies, they work with DSS. There should be synergy between all of them. The DSS should be on ground also to sniff information. We should be able to know these things before they happen. Everything is not about money. We have Nigerian intelligence agency. What are we doing? We are not investing in intelligence. How come these things happen over and over again? So the things that we can do to nip them in the bud is, apart from having consistent checkpoints, we should also have a situation where we can infiltrate the ranks and ensure that we gather intelligence, protect every school in that region, to ensure that you have intelligence on all of these places. Before any school will be attacked, you must know that this thing is going to happen. And then what is the school ordinarily doing about local security? Let us empower the schools also, mostly especially schools in these areas, to have local security, and schools in Nigeria generally. And I don't also want a situation where government will consistently negotiate with kidnappers and armed bandits and then end up to say, no, they have been released. And then we are not doing what we call a feedback mechanism to assess, what we didn't do wrong. If we assess what we didn't do well, consistently, we'll be able to at least avoid all of this. But as this has happened now, we'll just rejoice that the kids have been released, and then everybody goes back to normal until the next happens. So what went wrong? What was not properly done? If we assess it, we'll be able to know how to avoid the reoccurrence. These are things we should be doing.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Liborious Oshoma, for taking out the time to talk to us.
My pleasure.
Yes.